Hi, everyone, and welcome back to From Pain Point to On Point. I'm your host, Britt, and today I have with me SalesScreen Sales Manager, Harry Hindess. Welcome, Harry. Welcome
Thank you.
back,
Yeah, good to be
actually.
back. Good to be back. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for joining me. I wanted to have you on because you just recently went to an event in the UK, ITI UK, and you had some interesting insights. We learned about some interesting trends going on in the insurance industry, and we work really closely with the insurance industry too. So I thought it'd make a ton of sense to have you on and talk about some of the things that you saw, some of the conversations that you had with people there, and just generally give some insight into insurance as a whole. So I would love to kick it off and talk about what were some of the biggest themes that we saw at ITI this year.
Yeah, it was again a really good conference. We were there last year as well. And I think last year it was like a lot of AI discussion, quite early stage discussion on how it could help insurance. This year was a lot more AI companies that are like proven to work already. So we met a lot of people who were really looking to see what was out there, hear about some of the trends in the market because there's so much emerging new technology, lots of like early discovery about what other companies are doing, not necessarily people who knew what challenges they're looking to solve when they were there, but more to figure out what potentially they can solve. So yeah, lots of discussion around AI, mainly around automation, things like pricing and handling risk and handling lots of data that insurance companies do. We had a talk and we spoke about the new generation of insurance professionals. So some really interesting data around how like 55% of the workforce now already is millennials and Gen Z. And within 3 years, 35% of the insurance professionals are going to be retiring or of retirement age. So that was a lot of conversations we were having with people there around how they have to adapt to the new generation, to engage them people, to attract them into insurance, but also keep them in insurance once they've chosen that as a potential career.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I want to go back to the first part of your answer talking about AI. And I think it's really interesting that we don't really know what challenges we're trying to solve just yet, but we know that there are things that are going to help us. And maybe this is just ignorance on my part, but I think insurance is an industry that feels historically antiquated in the way that they do business, that it's just like they're older companies. Like you said, they have an older workforce and probably not as receptive to technology. So I think it's really interesting that insurance seems to be an industry that is really embracing AI, and it kind of feels like they're a little hungry for it almost.
Yeah, it seems like a shift over the last 10 years. Like when I started my sales career in insurance and I worked for a brokerage and we were actually manually writing cover notes for certain insurance policies. So basically manually
Oh,
writing insurance policies. And that was 10 years ago, right? So from that, over that 10 years, there's been a lot of digital transformation in companies. And then that then leads to being able to use new technology when you have all of your data consolidated, and then you can use AI to help with all of these processes as well. So it seems just like a perfect timing with all of the digital transformation that they've done the last 10 years now to actually start to utilize all the data in a better way as well. So yeah, I mean, we were right by the tech stage. So there was like 15-minute demos, people were coming up, and it was really busy, just people trying to see what technology was out there. I can remember there was things like flood risk. So businesses were like finding ways of using satellite data and assessing risk. And there was other things that was all around like insurance using the boxes. So much interesting technology and very busy at the tech stage just for those short 15 minutes, just for companies to see what's out there.
yeah, that's so interesting. And I guess I'm wondering if we're going to tie this back into what you were talking about prior about the a little bit of the generation gap that happens within the
Mm.
insurance company. Who's driving these conversations? Who are the people that are coming to these conferences that are trying to get this new technology to update their company?
Yeah, there was a mix. I think a lot of the large companies have innovation teams. So there are people there who were experts in technology and they were working for those insurers, whether consulting or internally, and they were there just to gather as much as they could to refer back to the leadership within those businesses, share with them what was out there. Then there were people who maybe were millennials themselves and they'd started in insurance and then they've been promoted to now being head of customer experience or customer experience directors. So they've been through and experienced what it's like to be a young professional in insurance and then come through. So they were there, they were talking to us a lot about motivating the new generation as well. And then there were a lot of board members there who would have been around for a lot more old-fashioned processes. I think for them, they were very much like, what have you got? What is this? I need to know very high level, like, what do you do? How would it help me? If that sounds
Interesting.
relevant, let me intro you to my technical team. So there was a lot of those conversations as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And it makes a ton of sense as we move. I feel like since the implementation of AI and it becoming more popular and ChatGPT coming out and all of those things, like it's just advanced so quickly. It went from just being ChatGPT to now like AI, it's in every platform, it's everywhere, everybody is using it. Did you hear any concern about AI? It's the insurance industry, so I feel like there is the possibility for risk there in an industry that is entirely dependent on assessing risk. Was there
Hmm.
any like concern about implementing AI, whether that was what it would mean for their customers or what it would mean for their own internal processes?
There were talks around AI with regulation. How does this work within regulation as well? So it's clearly top of mind on how they make sure it fits in with the regulation with insurance. And also adoption of tools is always like a top topic. And that was something that was talked about as well, whether they have to educate their staff on how it works and how to use it, or easy to use tools. Are the team actually going to be able to use them? So yeah, I think it's like more so than last year. There was a lot more talk around, okay, now we're actually using it. How is this going to impact our regulation, and how do we make sure we're investing in the right products and strategies going forward?
Hmm. And all of this is really around customers. We didn't have a ton of conversations for insurance companies to use AI internally for their own teams. Yeah,
Yeah, there
interesting.
was a lot of helping customers have a better experience. So whether that's instead of sitting on hold for X amount of minutes, they can get a good answer from an AI chatbot quicker, for example.
Mm,
And then if you're pricing insurance better and you're able to evaluate risk in a more efficient way, then that's going to benefit the customer. But yeah, not as much around internal staff from sort of those talks they're having. And the majority of the vendors there were not related to their internal staff.
yeah, yeah, interesting. This is a shameless pivot, but what about gamification? Did you guys talk about gamification at this insurance conference?
Yeah, I mean, we were one of the only, if not the only tool there around internal employee impact.
Yeah.
I think initially when we started going to this event, it was kind of like, oh, is that a red flag? But it's actually really nice because there are a lot of people there who are not only looking at external impact, but also internal impact. So yeah, as I say, with the talk, we had a lot of people coming over after the discussion around Gen Z, millennials, new generation. How do we motivate those people? And we know that they crave more feedback from managers. They want more purpose in their jobs. The millennials have been called the job hopping generation because they're looking for purpose. They're looking for a company that values them. So gamification can help with some parts of that. Purpose is probably more around how is the company branding, how are they selling themselves. But with gamification, you can definitely give world-class feedback to people and reward and recognition and make them feel valued and connected with their team. So yeah, we're talking about that, and something always comes up with fun. Like
Yeah.
insurance isn't very sexy, it isn't very fun. So companies want to make it fun internally and make a really nice culture. So again, lots of talk about how they're trying. Every company's trying, but it's difficult, right? When they're doing it
Yeah.
manually, it's up to them to come up with creative ideas. So yeah, lots of discussion around how we can help with gamification to make work more fun, simply put, which obviously leads to happier staff, better engagement, better retention of staff, better performance, better service for customers.
And I can imagine too that two things really is that insurance is such an interesting industry because they have an understanding of gamification. They're using
Yeah.
it with their customers and
Mm.
creating reward shops with their customers and creating incentives for their customers, which is really interesting. So they absolutely have an understanding of how gamification can help and how it can make people more excited, more engaged, viewing their brand positively, all of these different things. So yeah, I think that's so interesting. And the fact that it hasn't yet flipped back around to
Yeah,
internal.
like you say, that we had this last year as well. A lot of people will come up to us because we have gamification on the stand and they're saying, oh,
Hmm.
this is for our customers. And that's probably because of some companies like Vitality who have used it really well to promote healthy behaviors from their team.
Sure.
We're going to be releasing customer story from Vitality soon, and they have had massive success implementing gamification internally. And it feels that is one reason for that is because they understand it so much from using it on their customers. So I think it's only a matter of time that people realize that those benefits you have on promoting behaviors from your customers to like use your tool, stay with your company, be healthier, you can use within your company as well. Stay with your company as an employee, do the behaviors you want to see them do, whether that's cross-selling or asking for reviews or handling customer conversations in a compliant and customer focused way, and rewarding them for working with you is all things we do. So yeah, and again, like when you have those conversations, it's not like people are saying that won't work for us. People are saying, oh, I didn't know that existed. Yeah,
Yeah.
we want our staff to be happy, we want them to be engaged. It's just it's not new because they've been doing it ever since they existed by like running internal competitions, by
A
having
thousand
award
percent.
ceremonies and however else they do it. It's just that now there's software that can do it with AI and with integrations with their systems and to make it more modern, basically.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's really interesting too. I think there's definitely something between having an industry that skews older, right? That skews for
Mm,
the most part relatively older. People who have made insurance their career and they've stayed
mm,
in insurance for their full career. And to your point, you cited that stat earlier in the conversation about 35% of the insurance workforce are going to be retiring. And then also like the implementation of AI, we were talking about this a little bit before on our prep call, but the kind of fear of AI taking over and replacing people, right? Like, I think gamification is such a good answer to that, right? Because gamification is just like a performance enhancer,
yeah.
and AI to a degree should also be just a performance enhancer. So having these two pieces of technology work in tandem together is such a great solution for an industry like insurance that has kind of been behind the eight ball a little bit in technological advancement,
Mm.
and then also is like now dealing with what is soon to become a pretty big retention issue and trying to get people to come into this workforce that, you said it, not me, wasn't very sexy. You know, I think insurance is very sexy. Just joking, I don't, but
I mean, yeah, like I say, like there's a lot of companies are trying to make it sexy, right? And I think
yeah,
if you want a long-term career with opportunities to move up in companies, and like I say, having started in a now Howden, there was plenty of opportunity for me to get promoted in that company and stay there for a long time. So I think it is a really good career for people. It's just, I guess, oh, you work in insurance from the outside if you don't know. Because I love insurance. I used to love working in insurance. If I'll be honest, I loved it. Because
you liked writing the manual cover letters, you liked writing the
no, I
manual.
didn't like that part.
That's not fun.
But I like the recurring relationships. Like in a brokerage I was in, I sold to the same people for the whole time I was there, like 4 years. And they come in the office, we had face-to-face branch, and they'd
That's so
open up
nice.
about stuff, and you'd remember them next time they come in. They only speak to you because you're their broker. And so there's lots that I loved about it. I think it's just got a bad image, maybe like an
Yeah,
image
maybe.
of like old white men in suits
Yeah, yeah,
image,
yeah,
you could
yeah, yeah,
say,
yeah, yeah.
which I think is being shaped up massively. Like if you look at even the speakers in the event, there were so many new different people, not just
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
net. But anyway, going a bit off track, but yeah, sex insurance, I think it can be. It's just,
But I really
yeah.
like that. I mean, it's such a good point. I think that in sales, we see a lot of really quick, especially depending on the industry you're in, of course. Sometimes you're in like incredibly long deal cycles. And so you're developing
Mm,
relationships with your champion, but then also this entire team that is involved in the decision-making process. But I think that there's something really nice about what you were saying about like developing a relationship with the same people and having that recurring FaceTime with them. And I think that SalesScreen is releasing AI tools this year. And I think we as a team, we've thought a lot about how does this impact people? How does this impact end users? How is this going to help and make it so that this AI is additive to their job and to their performance
mm,
and isn't replacing, right? Like it's not creating redundancy, it's just an additive. And I think that what you were just talking about is such a good reminder that, and this is very cliche to say and kind of a little overworked at this point, but like sales will always be that face to face connection, right? Like it's
mm.
always going to be, even in the insurance industry, like it's always going to be person to person. And so AI has the potential to optimize, but it's not going to replace entirely full jobs. Like you're always going to need to have people that do that because nobody's going to buy from a robot.
Yeah, and insurance is a special one because you're not buying something physical. You're
Yeah.
literally buying, I don't know, a cover
Yes.
note you get in, a policy number you get on an email, and you don't know how good it is until you use it. So it's all around building trusts with the advisor or the business, like knowing that their brand is a trustworthy business. So when you do get around to using it, you know it's going to deliver. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's a big part of it. But yeah, with the AI, I like to look at it, and having seen what we're producing and also some of the tools at this event, I feel like there's like three areas I like about it, which is like helping with creativity. So like giving you ideas that you wouldn't have had before,
Yeah.
helping with efficiency. So jobs that like you're giving it what jobs to do and it's doing it for you quicker and better.
Yeah.
Those are two. And then the third one is also proactive insights. So giving you ideas that you've not thought of yet, and you don't have to like prompt it to help you, but it's proactively realizing things for you and giving you nudges. So all of those things involve the person enhancing, like you're saying,
Yeah.
performance enhancer, which I think is a
Yeah.
good way of looking at it. So yeah, those are my thoughts so far on it, on how it enhances what you do.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. I think that there really was like such a fear around AI prior to it actually being implemented in platforms. And now that we have it and everybody has it, every platform you go to now has AI added to it. It's becoming increasingly more obvious that this will likely not replace anybody. This is going to be
Mm,
something like this is always going to be something that's going to be enhancing, but we're always going to need the real people. But I also think that AI is such a great thing for an industry like insurance to adopt because there is so much manual admin work.
yeah,
And also, I think to the generation point, you want to get new people to come in. And maybe when you're 22, fresh out of college, you're like, oh, I don't mind handwriting cover notes. But if
yeah,
you're getting somebody that's like in their 30s, I'm not handwriting anything. I'm not handwriting anything. Everything has to be automated, especially, I mean, maybe I'm a special circumstance because I have a tech background. And so everything in tech is like about optimizing.
mm,
Um, but yeah, I think that it's such a good way to draw in the younger generations and show that you are like an industry that is on top of current trends and like able to adapt as well. I think that's like also really important. And to your point earlier when you were talking about what the hell was it, Harry? It was just right here
like the
written.
millennials and Gen Z needing more feedback or more expectations.
Yeah, I think
But no, I think on your point, I think they're going to expect it now.
yeah,
It's
like
less that like, oh, do you have it? It's more, where is my AI note taker?
yes.
Or that's a shift, I think. Whereas it was like
Yeah.
a nice to have. Oh, you have a recognition and reward platform for your employees. That's just expected now. That's not like a
Yeah.
really big win anymore. Yeah.
Well, I think like you were talking a little bit before, or maybe this was in our prep call, I can't remember, but talking about people, millennials are the job hoppers. They're looking for purpose and they want to work at a company that like aligns with their values and also values them. And I think that by implementing gamification and like to your point, like the recognition programs and those types of things and AI, it does allow for better incentives, quicker, faster, better recognition for the work that they're doing. I think it really does help make it so that it's not as transactional between employee and employer and does
Mm.
help create a really great environment and really great culture just kind of on its own because it's just this organism that like lives that people are a part of and it kind of like does everything automatically for you. So it's kind of like terrarium. You know what I mean?
Some people will be screaming out, how do you not know what that is, Harry? But yeah, I'm not sure. It's
No, it's
got an
like,
idiom in the end, so I guess
yeah,
it's like over 30 in the periodic table, maybe, or
it's like, you know, what I mean? You know those like dome, it's like a glass dome, and then it's fully enclosed, but it has plants and
like
stuff like that in it,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it doesn't require anything. You don't have to water it, you don't have to do anything. It just is like, what's the
it's
word
like
I'm
a
looking
living
for?
world. I'm not
Yes.
sure. I think it was like ants farm where you could buy it and it would just, or like termite farm. I can't remember. It was like a
Risky.
um very non-vegan kids toy where you could like have your own little ant farm basically,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah, yeah,
needed
yeah.
no support.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Mine is an ant farm, but it has greenery, which feels like it's fun. Like it makes it
right.
a more
Yeah.
pleasant than just being a little ant in a tunnel. But yeah, it's just kind of like self-fulfilling, right? Like I can't think of the word now, but whatever.
Just edit that word in.
And yeah,
Self-sustaining,
Gina, can you
maybe.
edit that word in? Self-sustaining,
Self-sustaining.
self-sustaining.
What are you
That's
actually
it,
talking
Harry.
about?
Self-sustaining. Yes,
What was the
that's
original point?
well, just talking about how having a gamification platform like SalesScreen can
Right.
become this
Yeah.
self-sustaining
Yeah.
ecosystem. An
Yeah.
ecosystem allows people to do their jobs. It allows people to engage with metrics and their KPIs in a more interesting and fun way, but it also gives them the recognition that they want, whether that's coming from other teammates or from managers and like rewards from the
Yeah.
reward shop and whatnot. And so it just becomes this thing that just moves, it just works
Mm,
on its own,
mm.
and it allows you to develop a culture that is like fun and engaging and playful without needing a ton of hands-on work, which I think for an industry like insurance works so well
Yeah.
because there is so much admin work that needs to get done, and it can feel very transactional at times because you're closing deals left and right. So you
Mm.
are almost to a degree missing out a little bit on that face time with customers, which would be something that would add purpose and value to your job, right? Like you really
Yeah.
valued being able to create those connections and develop those relationships. So I think gamification is a great solve for that pain point.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you're right. And like when we're starting with a new client, it's often led by managers, and we want the team managers and the call center operation managers to lead from the front to show the team how to use it. And like you say, from there, it becomes the culture of the company to recognize each other and celebrate wins across the company. And yeah, then like you say, it's kind of looks after itself, right? You have, as a manager, sometimes you can just sit back and watch people enjoying their work and recognizing each other. So yeah, no, I definitely agree.
Yeah, nice. We're running close to time here, Harry, and I don't want to make you late for your next call, but any parting words on either ITI UK, the insurance industry, gamification, AI, all four?
Yeah, I can go for it. I'd say it was great to be at the event to get a lot of conversations with people in the industry. Something we struggle with, to be honest. Like we have some really good customers, but actually like speaking to people, no pressure, just want to hear about what's going on in your world. And what's exciting is that lots of companies are really embracing new technology. They're really looking to learn. They've built these innovation teams purely to make sure they're not missing out on the latest trends in how they can better help their customers mainly. But as we said, a lot of conversations around helping internal staff as well. And yeah, I think that, as we said, a lot about the new generation coming in, it seems like it really resonated to, if not a big problem now, they've kind of felt it already that they need to work a bit harder to deliver enough recognition and feedback to the new employees. So they're feeling it a bit now, but it's going to be more relevant in the next years to come as that generation shift continues and we get more even younger people coming into industry as well. So yeah, I think exciting to see that the industry is so open to technology now. Whereas, like I say, when I started, it was sort of early stage of the digital transformation in a way.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Very cool. Very exciting. Excited to work more with insurance and our insurance customers and to see how gamification and AI can impact their business and make them very successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what we're going to do. All right, Harry. This was great. Thank you for chatting with me.
Yeah, thanks, Britt. You were great as always.
And I'll chat with you on the next podcast because now you're a regular.
Fantastic. And I'm sales director. No.
Which will happen any day now. All right.
All
All
right,
right, Harry, I'll
cheers.
talk to you later. Bye.